transportation and particularly tolling, and I also saw it in railroading. There's something about the unique challenges of something that are both, they're very right brain and left brain combined. They're very people and technology combined. It's never boring. It's always something different. There's always something to be solved for. But it's also having peers in the industry who are as passionate and are open to having the healthy debates, having good discussion to make the industry better. And so it's almost like I want to be better for my team. I want to be better for my colleagues in the industry. It's not just about making money. Like, to me, if you look at the transportation industry, particularly in the U.S., it is the circulatory system of the U.S. economy.
Love that.
And that's 100%. What gets me up every day.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Toll Talk. I'm one of your hosts, Kaylee Jakovics, and with me
I'm Alex Ficcari.
And we're a part of the Mojo team, and we have a very special guest today, Nanette Harrell, who is the CTO and CTO of Emovis. Nanette, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see. You know, it's been you've been pretty busy lately, haven't you? You've had some things happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has been a busy time for sure.
Yeah. So why don't you tell our listeners, obviously but I think that's really, instead of us giving your intro of everything about what's happening with you, I think it's best it comes from you. So, tell the world what you've been doing.
Sure. So I am currently based in North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh-Durham. I actually grew up here, but left immediately after high school. Couldn't get out of here fast enough. And moved around a bit as an adult, chasing a career. And just after years of moving around, I have settled back. I'm in my hometown. I'm helping my mother kind of embrace her last chapter of life. I feel very honored to be able to do that. She's one of my biggest inspirations. She taught me grit, transparency, that work hard, work smart, work ethic. Nice. And I'm just really thankful. I have two children who are adulting. I have one who is he's an officer in the military.
Thank you for his service. That's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. I'm obviously super proud. And he has a beautiful wife and the most beautiful 2-year-old daughter, who's my grand. Yeah. And then I have a daughter who's in university right now. So
excellent.
By all accounts, I'm empty nesting, but I have 2 adventurous adult children, so they keep me chasing them around the globe. So I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome. So now now that you're saying you're this empty nesting, aspect, is it exactly what people told you, or are you discovering, something different, or is it, it's, you feel alone, you're weeping in the corner, like you're like, they don't love me anymore?
Not me. No.
Alex was weeping.
To me,
I was weeping.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Of course I miss the kids. Of course life is very different without them, but, I don't know. I find a lot to stay busy between, newfound friends, old friends. I mentioned traveling, which I now do for pleasure more than I do for work. Also for work, in case work is listening. Yeah. So it's a little bit of extra freedom. Yeah. Extra time, not running to soccer games and football practices and recitals as much anymore.
It's opening up kind of a whole new world for you. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know that. So you're talking about work. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, your career background. We'd love to hear, your story and kind of where you got to today.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with the punchline up front. I recently joined Emovis as their Chief Technology and Delivery Officer.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm super, super excited.
Another great team member for Emovis. So it's exciting news.
But I got here by means of consulting. So I've been doing independent consulting for about 5 years now. Emovis was one of my first customers I consulted with, bringing some of that tolling operational, experience and technology experience, just helping support them through business development growth, through solution design for their technology products. And I joke that we've dated long enough and now we're getting married. So
it's the perfect match.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But in terms of tolling, I mean, I kind of got here by accident. I started out in railroad transportation.
Okay.
That's very cool.
Awesome.
That's a new one.
Railroading.
Haven't heard that.
To the old timers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Railroading. All right.
I worked for one of the lobbying organizations, had a technology division that I was very fortunate enough to work at for over a decade. I worked with them to develop data-rich systems that facilitated basically the flow of goods, not people, across the U.S. I went from that into port operations, like ocean port facilities, because it's really the same thing. Data-rich technology systems that facilitate the flow of products.
Logistics, sure.
Yeah. And what's unique about ports is it's all types of transportation. You've got rail, shipping barge, truck, intermodal. They all culminate at that port. And so from there, I learned more about trucking and roadway transportation, dovetail into more roadway operations, which is a lot of roadside technology.
Right.
And then from there, went into like back office systems and softwares that drive efficiency, help agencies collect revenue, and the rest is history.
So I have to ask a question. So tolling has, a lot of customers at the end, that we're serving, and logistics of, ports and whatnot. You have customers, but not the same volume, right? So do you see that difference from your end in the decisions that you're making and how the organization, operates? Do you see that tangible difference? Oh
yeah. Yeah. Because you go from containers of product to automobiles with people.
Yeah.
So there's I'll say it's similar, and it is in the fact that it's the movement of something and using data to facilitate that. And I'm big on data. I think it's going to come up a lot. But it is, transactionally, it's very different on a roadway versus usually in product and supply chain, you're talking groups of things, not single point, like automobiles. And then you also have, in the railroad industry, it's mostly private. Or, large publicly held, Warren Buffett owned railroads, whereas in tolling, it's mostly state agencies. You have a few P3s and concessionaires, but for the most part, it's a state agency. And I'll respectfully argue with you, Alex, it's not customers, it's constituents that are driving these toll roads.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that brings a whole different dynamic to how do you operate? What do you charge? How do you collect? How hard do you go after revenue? How do you service these constituents?
Well said, actually.
It's completely different than the more commercial supply chain, product movement.
Yeah, so you have a ton of experience kind of all around transportation in general, so it's exciting to have you on today. But
thank you.
With Emovis, when did you start your new role? And also kind of what does the day-to-day look like for, the CTO of Emovis?
Sure. I started, I'm going to look at the calendar, 22 days ago.
Oh, all right.
Really new. All right.
You're
shiny new penny still.
I'm shiny and new. I have those rose-colored glasses on, and I'm the bumblebee who thinks my wings can support my weight.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you asked something else there, Kaylee, and I lost it. What was it?
Yeah, kind of like what does the day-to-day look like for you as the CTO, CDO?
Well, so far, it's every day is different, which is one of the things I love. I get up very early in the morning where I like to have my quiet time. That helps me, both personally and professionally, because I'm able to focus and think about what are the big rocks. That might mean something to some people, but what are the big areas I need to focus on?
Sure.
What areas can I delegate? What areas should I delegate? What can wait till next week? So I do a lot of, I think I'm a big believer in you have to plan that head down time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do that in the morning, and then the day is usually filled with meeting with engineers or product folks as we think about, how to make current products better. What is the next generation of technology solutions? I work with sales teams on business development efforts. I'll talk to clients a couple times a month, usually in concert with someone on our BD team.
Sure.
But I do that mostly because I think that's where the heart of the knowledge is. You could build a perfect solution, but if it doesn't meet a customer need, then forget it.
Pain points have got to be addressed somewhere, right? Prioritized.
Yeah. So that's, I'd say that is a typical day in the life. I also talk with a lot of vendor partners, I'll say. We have, we don't pretend to be all things to all people inside of Emovis.
Sure.
There are some things that we do very, very well. And then there's some things we, work with partners to help accomplish a full suite for the end customer.
Okay. So I have a question. So now that you have this new role, 22 days, but let's recap again. You've been dating Emovis for a while, right? You have all this industry insight, and you're coming to the table here. So I think it's appropriate to ask you is, now that what's your vision? And it's a multiple part question, but I'm going to keep it to the first part. Part one, what's your vision for the company's future right now from the technology side and wherever it reaches?
Okay, that's a big question. And I've been thinking about it. So I envision us, Emovis, for all intent and purposes, has been in this great little startup space. And what I mean by that is Emovis is a global firm. It's, a division of Abertis Mobility Solutions, which is based in Barcelona.
Right.
Its U.S. operation has been in startup mode and quite successful at it over the past couple of years. I think now we're seeing a shift from that startup mode to this is a mature, operating organization with this wonderful backing of this rich global firm.
Sure.
But it's obviously doubling down its focus in the U.S. My position is evidence of that. Before we had most of the leadership in the global team, we're now developing a full-scale executive leadership within the Americas. And it's not just, it's a lot in the U.S., but what a lot of folks don't realize is we have customers in Canada, South America, Puerto Rico, also division of the U.S., but literally on an island on its own. So I think what we're going to see is not just Emovis mature in what it delivers, but also how it delivers.
Okay.
And so for my team, what I see is us growing beyond a task-based startup organization to something that's very clean, customer solution oriented, where we have installations and support that are based on proven process and procedures that help drive efficiencies down to the bottom line for the customer. That's what I see.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we're able to leverage our technology solutions to go and mature because we're not a huge organization. We're able to test things very quickly and fail fast.
Yeah.
Test and fail, test and fail, test and win.
Love it.
And I love that. And so what I see for our organization is the ability to grow to meet there's going to be newer demands in the industry coming up over the next 5 or 10 years. And I think Emovis is very well positioned to stay nimble, grow to mature organization to meet the needs of the industry.
Okay. Now, so part two of my question, and especially responding to what you just said, is do you think your vision that you've outlined, are you taking their vision they've already had and moving it forward, or do you feel this is, bringing your insights and this is a culmination of all of you coming together to one team with a new vision? It's evolved a little bit. Tell me about that.
So Emovis has done a great job at, staying focused and articulating its vision. I mean, they've, they are the electronic tolling competence center in Europe and now growing globally into the US. So I think they bring a wealth of experience. Their goals are growth in the US market.
Okay.
It's very simple.
That's straight up. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think my job is to help them determine how to do that. My superiors are very good at articulating what we need to go after. I want to help us get there and driving a team and understanding how to get there. So that's how I think it's aligned. I mean, we have a lot of folks don't know we have 400 years experience. I'm sorry,
Wow.
40 years.
I was like 400 years. Wow,
yeah.
Nanette. That's quite the legacy you get to carry on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
40 years experience, 700 employees. Have our solutions in 12 countries. And, if you want to talk specifics, I'm sure we'll get into this later, but we're really growing a lot in the RUC category.
Okay,
Right.
sure.
Road usage charging.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one of the technologies that we're kind of doubling down on to focus and to make sure we're there at the helm.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of to go off of what you were saying, you have many things to do. You have this vision, it's coming up in the next 10,
5
few
to 10
years.
yeah.
I'm wondering, because I'm sure that you have a team that you're running, you have all these ideas and things happening. I guess, how do you describe your leadership style? And then also, how do you inspire and motivate your team so you guys can keep getting better and better?
So mind you, my team is only 22 days old. So I'll tell you how I normally operate and how we're starting with this team. So I believe in, I call it recruiting with big asks.
Okay.
So I ask a lot of my team. But I will give them a lot of runway. I will give them a lot of support. I want them to be empowered and to, in their heart, understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I want them to be as passionate, if not more passionate than I am about what I'm asking them to do. And that takes time.
Yeah.
Takes but trust. I have to, I've just found that, so when I was raising my children, I have this theory that children can do more than you think they can do. I think children are smarter than what we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Well, I think the same thing about the team. I think what we see from a lot of our teammates is probably a fraction of what their actual capabilities are. And the best way to discover that is to let them run with support and guardrails, not, completely rampant, but, and that also just fosters a lot of innovation.
Right. And knowing you for, the time that we've known each other and some of the other Emovis members that we know, like you truly are like a passionate team. So it's exciting to see you coming on in this new role. And I know you're going to help, support them and take them to new heights. So super
Thank
exciting.
You.
I'm excited.
Now, I have a question for you. You mentioned, to digress a little bit to the 5 to 10 years and your leadership style. I'm really kind of curious if you can talk about these things, but what are the most significant trends that you really kind of see coming in mobility?
So I'm going to give you my Nanette the consultant answer for this, based off just, being a nerd in the industry for as long as I have been. I think there's 3 pretty major trends going on right now in varying degrees of maturity. Revenue recovery is always a big one.
Sure.
But with that, you can get into the specifics of, you have more leakage and revenue recovery needs if you have just a license plate recognition system versus transponders. And then, well, how do you improve that? How do you make that better? Well, that goes with all sorts of technology, footprinting, optical character recognitions. But then you also have, how do you get the various agencies to work together and interoperability to make sure that, they're sharing data and information in a way that's appropriate and keeps customer PII private,
right,
but also enables everyone to collect their tolls. So that's one area I don't think we've seen full maturity on yet. I think that's going to keep getting better.
Okay.
The second one is automated connected vehicles. So, vehicles are rolling off the manufacturing line today. They just haven't reached market saturation yet. I think once they do reach market saturation, it's going to completely change the ballgame of AET. You're not going to have transponders. You're not going to need license plate protocol anymore. But there's going to be a whole swath of problems that we don't even know about yet.
Right.
And so shouldn't we be thinking about testing out, finding those risks today before the market does get saturated? So that's area number 2. And then area number 3, as we mentioned, is RUC, mileage-based user fee, affectionately known as MBUF. I don't know who decided to pronounce MBUF as MBUF, but that is what happens in the industry. So that's the one I would say I am most excited about because it's here and now. Emovis already has a RUC solution. We have it implemented at a few different agencies. The challenge is public education, I'll say. Right now, there's a risk of folks thinking that this road usage charge or mileage-based user fee is going to be an additional tax on top of their gas tax.
Sure.
When in actuality, if you look at the data, it's really not. And then the other misperception is that it's Big Brother. You've got the government now tracking where you drive, when you drive. The reality is no one's really looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
They're just trying to collect their tolls.
Well, and you have Hollywood accentuating those with their films and whatnot. But the truth, you're right. Yeah. The truth is, we live in this, I think, this interesting time, and we kind of had a similar conversation not too long ago, but this aspect where people want more service. They want more transparency. Yeah. They want more data. But that does mean they have to allow for that data to be collected, It needs to be considered. Otherwise, the agencies themselves, your clients, can't provide the service they're looking for. And so, it's, okay, you want more service, you give it to them, but they're grumbling and biting at your hand the entire time you do it. It's kind of, it's disappointing, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I think education is key moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and to that point, there's really no one size fits all when it comes to public education and marketing, because again, every agency is in a different culture, a different geographic part of the country. But I would argue at the core, the technology can be the same. It's essentially data collection, data sharing, and then all the fun things we get to do to data.
Yeah. So it seems like there's some, fun challenges, if you will, ahead of you. But throughout your career, has there been a significant challenge that you've faced that you want to share with us and kind of how you've overcame that, whether it was with you or with a team?
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, 2 come to mind. And since we're talking tolling, I'll stick with tolling.
Okay.
Anytime an agency has to change technology, it is a full-scale pain in the rear. It is just, it is hard. So I did work for an agency as their CIO where we had to change out roadside hardware, back office software, in-ground, cradles and axle count mechanisms. across hundreds of miles of roadway with, thousands of customers.
Yeah.
With no downtime.
Oh, wow. And what time and just to help those who maybe haven't seen this project from start to finish, let's help them understand the time frame in which something like this might take place.
Yes, these are typically 2 to 4 year projects.
Correct.
We were very aggressive. We had a very, very good vendor partner that provided a lot of the hardware and technology services. And we did it in 24 months.
Yeah. That's very impressive. And for those who don't know, and so, the Toll Talk audience is made up of everybody from those in the tolling industry, also engineers and construction crews. You're talking a very small window serving millions upon millions of drivers. The fact that you said no downtime, that was impressive. And then you're doing it in 24 to 36 months. You have this window, this time frame to accomplish all this. Hats off to you. That's impressive.
But again, it was the mightiness of the team. It was not me. It was no one individual.
Sure.
You
didn't do it all by yourself?
I wanted to ask.
Come on now. I thought I saw a cape sticking out from the back there just a second ago.
I wanted to ask you that because I know you're a problem solver. So I know when there's something that needs to be done, you're going to get in there and, handle it head on. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I like the gnarly ones.
Yeah, you're like, the bigger the better.
Yeah.
So just a question for you. So when you look at right now the path that you're headed and the challenges ahead and the new opportunities and all the exciting things that are going to take place, how are you going to balance out the responsibilities of not only growing Emovis, bringing new technologies and innovations, completing projects, but how do you uphold the legacy that you've that's been known for the brand of the global, as you said, global footprint. How do you continue or how do you build from it?
Well, I believe in transparency first and foremost. And I think that leads itself to having a partnership approach with customers, with other third parties that we want to work with. And I think that is also at the heart of what's possible for tolling in the U.S. or in North America, for that matter, is agencies becoming a little more transparent, working together to interchange that information needed so that a customer can have a tolling experience, not a this toll road experience, this toll road experience, this toll road experience.
Right. The interoperability. Levels,
and so I think that's important. I think Emovis is going the right direction by ensuring that its technology solutions, while understanding they are not one size fits all, there's a lot of that core of that product that is very applicable to everyone that does tolling. And so what we've done is built a very highly configurable multi-tenant solution so that if a customer comes in and needs roadside and back office, but maybe not image review, that's fine. It's just a configuration. We don't have to go and build it. If another customer comes in and they want to focus on touching their customers with a flexible back office system, mobile apps, websites, again, we work with partners to try to build that out. But it's all very easily connected because we have used and are continuing to use these cloud-based, machine learning driven solutions that they're not bleeding edge, but they're cutting edge, and it's not your grandfather's Oldsmobile.
I love the fact that you said you distinguish that difference between bleeding edge and cutting edge. If you're in technology, you probably heard that word, a phrase a million times over. But for those who aren't in the, let's say, the technology aspects of implementation, there is a big distinguishing difference between implementing bleeding edge versus cutting edge, because the the problems that you run into, the almost calling it if you think of like APIs or interaction sustainability and maintenance of systems of these sizes, you can't always get the fancy new bells and whistles, and that's at the agencies, they all agencies look for that innovation, but they can't always implement it, and sometimes they shouldn't implement it. Right? It's they have a customer base, and to your point earlier, you're kind of touching on a customer journey that you have to go beyond just road to road to road. Right? It has to be this all inclusive ecosystem that really does have enough of that cutting edge. I love that. I definitely, I'm glad you said that, because I think there's a lot of conversation going on where agencies can get disappointed, or customers of any sort of nature can get disappointed. Well, why can't I pay with my Venmo when I drive through, or why can't I do this or that? Well, in order to provide that scale of service, it has to, you have to find those common denominators and work through them a little bit. But
exactly.
Yeah. Evolve and innovate responsibly. Yeah.
Right. And the transportation industry as a whole has always been lagging. They're not known for being cutting edge, or much less leading edge. But I think it's been a reaction to leading edge. No way. We'll just stay right here where it's comfortable.
Right.
So I think through efforts of the IBTTA and other organizations, we're actually able to collectively explore, which gives everybody comfort. So I'm right there with you. Cutting edge, where we want to be.
Right, and you're just going to help continue that and bring on new innovations. And the viewers have definitely heard and can see your passion. I want to know kind of what drives that for the industry. That you get up every single day and you want to make it better. You want to bring on new technology.
It's interesting. I think transportation, and particularly tolling, and I also saw it in railroading. There's something about the unique challenges of something that are both, they're very right brain and left brain combined. They're very people and technology combined. It's never boring. It's always something different. There's always something to be solved for. But it's also having peers in the industry who are as passionate and are open to having the healthy debates, having good discussion to make the industry better. And so it's almost like I want to be better for my team. I want to be better for my colleagues in the industry. It's not just about making money. Like, to me, if you look at the transportation industry, particularly in the U.S., it is the circulatory system of the U.S. economy.
Love that.
And that's 100%. What gets me up every day.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Circulatory system of the economy. Yeah.
It really
that's
is.
Exactly
it's
it.
The backbone.
and if you think historically, historically to the Romans, to China, to anywhere infrastructure has been developed, it evolved an economy from a village to a mega city, right? A metropolis.
Yep.
And transportation is something we take for granted.
Yeah.
We don't think about it.
You're right.
But dang, I love that, the circulation. That's a great one. Yeah, I might, and when we post this, I might just make that your tagline.
You can use that again.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, really cool.
I'm gonna post that. Said by Alex Ficcari. No, just kidding. Totally kidding. No.
Well, we have just a couple minutes left. I wanted to see if you have any advice for any aspiring leaders that are, either just getting to join the industry, join Emovis, people who are part of IBTTA or other organizations surrounded by transportation.
Sure. First of all, I would tell anyone that is at that phase of life where you're in school and you don't know what to be when you grow up, or maybe you're like me and a little more tenured than that, and you still don't know what you want to be when you grow up. This industry gives you a chance to try on different hats. So you can go in and learn operations, you can learn finance, you can learn technology, all in the very protective space of transportation, because it is recession proof for the most part. It is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my encouragement to the young ones. And then I have a special place in my heart for young parents. I was a single parent for decades now. And striking that balance between raising children and working a career you're passionate about, is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life.
Sure.
It is also one of the most rewarding, and you can have both, and you can have it all. And it does get easier when they go off to college like mine do.
Oh, thank you. I'm like trying not to get teary-eyed because I always think about that for me because I don't have kids. And I'm like, I love work. Like, I don't, and everyone's like, you'll balance it. It's totally fine. So it's really refreshing to hear that from a leader like you and someone in the industry. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely appreciate it. Nanette, it has been fantastic having you on the podcast today. And I hope we're going to see you, so when this episode rolls out, it'll be near annual. We'll have annual coming up. Are you going out to, okay, great. Are you going out to?
I'll be in Cleveland.
All
yes,
right.
sir.
Yeah, not sure if you made it out to Spain or anything like that, but definitely looking forward to seeing you in Cleveland for sure.
I'll see you in Cleveland. And thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.